Well, welcome. Today we're joined by Maricopa County Supervisor Mark Stewart. Supervisor Stewart, welcome. Your first visit to see us since the election, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
We'd also like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, SRP and Sidewalk Coffee and Bagels. So a big round of applause for them. So you've been in office now for 2 months.
7 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
We're ending the 7th week, I think, right now.
Okay. So how was it? You jumped into the chair. How'd it go?
It's great. We have a phenomenal staff. I mean, first of all, my colleagues are wonderful. We've been able to collaborate on a number of things, obviously, respecting open meeting law. But we're moving the needle, right? I think the big thing for the board and for me is we want to be in the news for good things, right? And so we're really focused on those things. And then recently we just voted to approve a review of our operations for our elections. So we're going to take an outside third party, like a Deloitte or somebody like that, and take a look at the functionality of our elections and see where we can be best in class. And I think that's what the voters deserve, and that's what we'll do.
In an effort to get ballots counted faster?
Well, we got hung up on that one. So a good bill went through the legislature recently that would have allowed us to get ballots counted so we could deliver our results on election night. But unfortunately, that was vetoed. So we'll try to go back to the drawing board with a late bill in the session to see if we can get Governor Hobbs to sign that. You know, I think that's 90% of the issue with our elections here in Maricopa County and the state, for that matter, is that we have to wait 2 weeks, right, to get our results.
And to clarify, why do we wait 2 weeks?
Yeah, so, you know, the green early ballots, about 80% of Arizona voters vote with those ballots. But what a lot of folks do is they wait till the last minute and they drop those ballots off at the polling locations. Well, what ends up happening is we've got to take those out of the bucket, like physically out of a bucket, put them in a van, drive them to the county. They have to be verified. The signatures have to be verified. That takes time. If the signatures don't match up, it gets kicked out. Then we have to open it, right? We have to take the ballots out. And last time we had 2 ballots, so it doubled almost the time to do that.
It's a big ballot.
So it's an operational thing that delays everything. Staff's working feverishly. We had, I think, 400 people working to do these things. 24-hour shifts. Matter of fact, the county manager and the assistant county manager were down there doing physically opening ballots to try to get results done faster. But that puts the delay on it. And then, you know, nationally, everybody goes, "What are they doing over there in Arizona? They know how to run elections." And the reality is that we need a statute, because it has to be in statute, to be able to make sure that those early ballots are turned in
early,
a few days early. Because then we get them in, we get them counted, and we're ready to go, and we can deliver 95% of our results at night. It's a common sense way to handle this, but you know, Governor Hobbs doesn't believe that, and we've just got to maybe have coffee with Governor Hobbs and say, you know, that the Arizona voter expects this, and in the national scope, they deserve that too.
Well, with Arizona becoming more and more prominent on the election stage, it becomes more essential that Maricopa County specifically gets its ballots done, right?
Certainly, and to that point, like if I don't think if we were a hard red or hard blue state, it would have nearly as much national attention. But because we're one of those 7 or 8 swing states, yeah, the microscope turns on us, especially since everybody else has got their results turned in. And you know, in fairness, the public says, you know, what are they doing back there? And while staff's doing feverish work, the reality is that when you're not doing what everybody else is doing, people question what's happening. And so
make up stories.
That can happen too, yeah.
I think one of the best things that we ended up doing was going on a tour of the election center, which is, I believe, still going under the new director. Mm-hmm. So you can actually go down and take a look at the election center, see how the security works, see how people physically count the ballots.
Yeah,
and a really worthwhile.
It's great. Anybody can go, right? We give tours. It's kind of like going to the zoo.
Anytime.
You know, you can you can go and hang out if that's what you're into. But I think when you get down there, you will find that staff is dedicated to it was eye-opening for me to see how much they care.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're good people.
And it really does come down to these buckets of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of early ballots.
400,000 on election day get dropped off.
400,000.
Yeah.
All have to be verified and open. So, we'll have to keep looking for that bill then to get that sped up. But so you sit down in the chair day one. What's the biggest thing that you didn't expect that might be different than your expectations when you were running?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think what I didn't expect was how many departments. I mean, I kind of had an idea that it was bigger than a city council, which is where I came from, right, with Chandler. But 200 some odd, departments that's a lot, right? And many of those are statute driven. So 98% of our budget is required by statute. And that's good, right? I mean, we have all these services that we need to provide the county and need to provide the neighbors. And I think that was eye-opening for me. So
that's bigger than I expected, yes.
Yeah.
Never took the time to really think about counting them up.
I know, isn't that crazy?
I think the most obvious ones, Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff's Department, yeah, that's a very high focus for the entire board, and the chairman mentioned that. Chairman Galvin mentioned that in his opening speech. Is that we have a real desire, one, to pay our sheriffs better, but to add deputies, right? I think Sheriff Sheridan has mentioned that he needs about 120 deputies to get to where he needs to be. I know in Chandler, we added policemen and policewomen, and the result was phenomenal. We've got the lowest crime rate in Chandler, where I live, in the history of the city. And I'd like to make sure that, one, the sheriffs feel valued, the deputies, but that we don't lose them. Like, we train them up, right? Any company, you train your people up. What you don't want to do is lose them, because you've got all that invested in them, and that's happening a little bit.
They're going off to the municipal.
Yeah, and so we want to get them the right equipment, and moreover, we want to add detention officers, right? We want them to feel valued as well. So that's an important piece, probably the most important thing that we will be doing besides the election overview. Will be the sheriff's department and the prosecutor's department, for that matter.
And right, so we need to be able to get those cases through, and there was, at one point, there was a tremendous backlog in the sheriff's department. I don't know if that's been worked through or not, but with the crime kits and things like that. But how will all of that impact the budget? So is there money to do this?
No, here's the interesting thing. Towns like Queen Creek, Chandler, Gilbert, they have money, right? They have home rule, and I don't want to get into the weeds on what that means. The county is one of the largest counties in the country that is not a chartered type city, meaning that we can't go over a certain expenditure. Even if we had the money, we can't, based on state law. So we're really handcuffed financially on some of the things we want to accomplish. So we're going to shake the couch cushions, meaning we're going to move some money from departments that what we may call necessary but not essential, and we're going to try to slide some money around. But that's what I asked the county manager to do. So she's the smart one in the room, and I'll let her figure that out. But at the end of the day, we'll get that done.
So in order to get that done, you're going to have to take money that already exists, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
No new taxes or anything like that.
No, I think we're in a place where we're having to cut taxes to fit underneath that expenditure limit. That's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because I think at the end of the day, like, the public expects us to provide services, right? We put our money in a bucket, right? And these things happen. Good roads, parks, all the things, trails. But sheriff's deputies, right? Prosecutors to prosecute the crimes that people are arrested for. And when you're kind of falling behind on those things because of your financial constraints, because of law, we need to figure out a way to get out of that. So I've talked to the county manager, give you a little peek behind the curtain here, about trying to move to a home rule. That would have to go to a vote. The Maricopa County voter would have to trust us financially to be able to say, like they do in Queen Creek, like if you go, or they do with Chandler Unified School District, when they go out for an override, the community says, yeah, I trust the way they manage my money. If they need more money to do X, Y, Z, right, more jails, more detention officers, more police officers, yeah, I'm okay with that. So we'll ask the voter, and we'll make a case for why we want to do it, and hopefully we can get that done. Yeah.
Is this unique to Maricopa County or all counties in Arizona?
This would be unique to, I think Pinal is chartered. so they can extend they have what's called home rule, and they can extend, but I don't know the answer to that right off the top of my head. I've been locked in on Maricopa.
Right? It's been 7 whole weeks.
Yeah.
I just know, for example, all of the other counties can go out for transportation tax without having to ask the voters. We have to put it to a vote in Maricopa County, which seems a little unfair. But that's something we'll take up with the state legislators when they're here. In the meantime, we'll be looking for something coming forward so that we can talk to the voters about that for the county.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think from an infrastructure standpoint, that's another area where, like I remember when we did a bond in Chandler. It was a right-sized bond, right? It was for public safety, it was for roads, it was for things that parks, right? Things that people want the amenities. And here's the great thing about bonds. When you have a good credit rating, you're basically borrowing money for free. It's just a couple bips or points over inflation. And so it's good to take that invest it in your capital projects. What's that old movie, Money Pit? Mm-hmm. When you have deteriorating infrastructure, it costs more over time to maintain that. And that has more breakdowns, which puts stress on staff. And so it's like that Sim City. If you can invest in those things, it frees up ongoing dollars that you can pay sheriff deputies and things like that. So it's a strategy that I support, but I want to do it without raising taxes. And that's the neatest thing about this. What we want to do is find a bond agency that says, you know what, you can borrow money from us because we know you're going to pay it back because you have this job creation, you have this growth going on, and by doing that, we can borrow money against our current tax rate and our current levy, and that's the goal.
And what kind of infrastructure do you think you can fix?
Well,
what's the county working on?
I think the big thing out here is roads, right? Especially in Queen Creek, we've got tremendous growth, and the opportunity for job creation can really get hindered by traffic. It can really get hindered by not being able to move people back and forth to work. And so one of the things that we want to do is try to create that live, work, play, right? So it's going to be regional parks, it's going to be roads, it will be other infrastructure that helps us get back and forth to work and not have to worry about it. Yeah.
And does the county have any transportation projects that they work with, like Maricopa Association of Governments, things like that? Is the county a player in that?
Well, absolutely. We sit on those boards. I'm not on the board right now, so I don't know what projects are in play. But I'm sure there's a handful out here in Queen Creek.
Queen Creek.
Yeah. And so MAG is great at organizing all of the different governments, the cities and the counties, right, that fit within one another and working with them to, one, take 479 money or state dollars or county dollars or city dollars and blend those all together to provide those services that we talked about earlier.
So we can get our 24 and our major roadways done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 24 is a big one.
24, yeah. I like to point out to all of our state legislators that come that it's the 24 Parkway, not the 24 Freeway. It is not a freeway. They did not build us a freeway, and it's nowhere near done.
Yeah.
But 303 is going to be getting some more money to get finished. So we're going to keep working on getting 24 money.
Well, I'll be advocating for those things as well with my fellow colleagues, with folks at MAG, and with legislators that I have relationships with.
That'll be good, yeah. It's going to take all of us.
Because what I'm seeing now is you're seeing this opportunity and growth moving to the East Valley. In what I'm talking about is high-tech, high-paying, technical jobs, innovation-type jobs. And I don't want to hold that back, right? Because in any business, it's all about momentum. You've got to continue to keep your momentum. And if we lose our momentum because we're falling behind on infrastructure, that would be bad.
Right? It'll certainly bring an end to economic growth over here.
Certainly.
What would you consider the most pressing issue that you're working on right now?
Well, obviously, the money for the Sheriff's Department. That's the biggest issue.
That's the number one.
Yeah, and I think, again, we mentioned 200 different departments. My team at the county that work in my office are doing everything they can to get me in front of as many departments as I can. Like I went to the coroner's office the other day. I had no idea what the coroner's office and how important it was, and most people don't understand that understanding. Like, for example, heat-related deaths, right? Understanding why those are happening, understanding disease-related deaths and where they're happening in pockets within the county. But as important is the prosecutor's office getting information back as quickly as they can in order to be able to prosecute. That's people have a right to a speedy trial. And if we're hung up at the coroner's office, right, that we can't get data to help a victim find justice, that's us falling behind on our duties. So the big thing is understanding it comprehensively for me, not specific too much other than the sheriff's department.
Yeah, so 7 weeks in, still 200 departments, got to meet them all.
Yeah, so we're working on that.
Anything else that you want the folks to know?
Well, I think that I want everybody to know that Maricopa County is a well-run county. From a cost per capita, we're the third cheapest, I hate to use the word cheapest, but third most affordable county in the country for large counties. Our per capita employee per resident is minute compared to like an LA County, right? And so you're getting great value for your dollars. It's one of the reasons that companies choose to move here. It's one of the reasons that people choose to move here is because we are taxing and providing services at the right level, right? And I think, I work with some incredible colleagues that also understand the county's role and what we're responsible for. And one of the things that you'll see with counties and cities is scope creep, right? We use that term in business all the time. When you get outside of your core competencies is when you start to, one, spend more money than you need to, and you start to fail, right? Because it's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Not what you're good at.
It's not what you're good at. So we're good at the boring stuff, and so I'll continue to share that with my colleagues. I'll share that with the county manager and with people in the staff, but they get it too. So I'm excited about the next 4 years. I'm excited about the next 4 months and some of the things that we'll be doing. But I'll continue to bring forward. We're going to be looking at AI to find solutions to make customer service better. I'm going to be using terms like customer service. I heard somebody say it again the other day, just in passing. So that vernacular matters to me. To be using the terms innovation, to be using the terms customer service, because that's what the public expects. And so as a servant, I'll continue to do that. And then the greatest thing that I've been able to do is I've already stood in the middle of yards, in the middle of fields with neighbors and get their direct feedback on what's important to them. And that's what I like the most, is being out with the public and going to events like the State of the Town the other day. That was amazing. And that facility y'all have, that's an incredible amenity.
The new recreation facility that's getting ready to open.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, we were really happy to be there. It's going to be quite the gym in the community.
We'll have to go play some one-on-one.
Right? That'll be good. Next discussion, when you've had a few more than 7 weeks in the chair. The county received a whole lot of money from the ARPA funds from the government back during COVID. I think we still have something on the order of about $200 million that haven't been expended. And the question is there a plan for those monies, or are they going to get clawed back? And maybe you have some of that information right now. But
I asked for some research on that when I got on board, and I'm waiting for a report to find out what we're going to do with that. That doesn't fit. That doesn't count against our expenditure that I was talking about earlier. I have a suspicion that staff will find a way to deploy those fundings, but I don't know the answer to that right off the top of my head. But I can certainly find out, and I can have my team work on it.
When we have you back, we'll certainly delve deeper into the budget when you've had more than 7 weeks to be on the job. But
that was an interesting time when that money was coming out the way it was, because it's not something that cities, I was in Chandler at the time, that we were accustomed to, right? It's this infusion of cash, of which when you don't have the staff or the general plan to go deploy. And so you're scrambling, which takes your eye off the ball on what your core competencies are in some things. And so a lot of things were happening with that, and it was not an effective way to sort of it's easy for me to sit. It's easy to armchair quarterback now,
Yeah.
right, and go back and say that's not what we should have done. I mean, I get keeping the ship afloat, right, and plugging some holes, but this one was, I think, caused more heartache than it helped in some cases.
And that's an interesting thing that we look at as well. So never shut down all of business before. How is this going to work?
Yeah.
Here's some money. And then the bigger question became, what do we do with it? And yes, we don't have the staff, we don't have the people, we don't have anything. So now it just sits.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how it's going to be deployed. I think one of the other great things is that the county has a great website with all of the goals for the Board of Supervisors on it, and progress meters for each of those areas. Things like homelessness and health and safety and the detention centers and officers. And you can see right there real time how they're grading themselves. So. And I think that's Maricopa.gov.
Maricopa.gov, and I think that, we live in a world today where the customer wants information quickly, and so a key initiative of mine will be to continue to improve that customer experience online, right, through using AI, chatbots that can help you. The old days, you type in your search, right? I can't tell you the last time I did a Google search. I talk to ChatGPT or I talk to Gemini and I say, help me find this and then tell me what that means. So search is changing so rapidly that we will need to use innovation to keep up. We'll be looking at things about translation devices to create that inclusivity so that everybody in our community, no matter where they're from, can interact with the county, right? That's important to me as well. And so that may be putting translators on everything we can find at the libraries, whatever that may be, so that people can communicate with us effectively.
That's great. I love that you're on that forward edge of the technology. We were just having a discussion that Social Security may be running on a 40-year-old system of Cobalt.
I heard that. Yeah.
That's bad. So we're glad that you got the AI and tech down.
Well, I'm lucky. My chief of staff is a data scientist, right? And he has worked in that space of technology for his entire career. But also, he can bring some things to the table, I think, from a perspective that maybe won't be on the 10th floor, right, with all of us. And so we're lucky in that regard to bringing innovation forward that provides better service.
That's great.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, any questions that somebody might have? No?
Mark, talk about the growth in Maricopa. What's, I guess, the average amount of new coming residents coming into Maricopa County?
Oh boy, isn't it like 400 people a day come to Arizona?
Yeah.
So I don't know, we get a pretty good slice of that here in the East Valley in District 1 in Maricopa County. It's got to be taking probably 300 or 400 of that. That fortunately, 10 years ago, we may not have had that in our plan, but now we do plan for that growth. And that will continue as long as we have stability, I think, in our government. I think as long as we have stability in our tax rates, and as long as we continue to be able to provide the energy to people that are in our community. And we've been lucky that you look at other states and places like that, and to be able to grow in technology, you've got to have the energy to get there. To be able to be innovative with AI, you've got to have the energy to get there. And so we've got some forward-thinking groups like APS and SRP that are taking care of those things. That's going to be a big part of it, right? And then you've got water and all those things. But we live in a desert. We are a community that understands how to live in a desert and conserve water. It's just second nature to us and our kids. And I think if we can work with the federal government to get some relief on the Colorado River water, instead of pouring it into the ocean, we could really change some things here for the better. And I think we're in a great place. So it's a matter of maintaining, keeping winning rings, if you will. I look at Maricopa County and the state as a champion. We just have to stay on the path and keep doing good things. Yeah.
That's great. Supervisor Stewart, we appreciate your time.
It?
Thank you so much for being here.
This is great. Yeah. Thank you very much.